The Daily Mail and the Spectator have waded into the question about whether Prince William should be talking about peace in the Middle East. Of course he should. And the Mail have suggested that it's unprecedented that he should talk about peace in the Middle East. Well, on October the 10th, he talked about, he condemned the Hamas attack and called on Hamas to release the hostages, as he does today. And he talked about the right of Israel to self-defense, and how he and the Princess of Wales were thinking of all the victims. All the victims were in their hearts and minds. And today he's said that he remains deeply concerned about the terrible cost of the conflict. Too many people have been killed. Hamas must release the hostages. And at the same time he talks about peace. Well, his intervention in Gaza has brought out the hand-wringers in the Spectator, people like Brendan O'Neill, and the hand-wringers in the Daily Mail, who try to explain what they think Prince William actually means. It seems quite clear. He laments the terrible cost of the conflict, the sheer scale of human suffering. And that's not to say that he's drawing a parallel between Gaza and Yemen. These two things are independent, both of them one would lament, or Myanmar or Darfur. And Brendan O'Neill in The Spectator is simply trying to belittle what Prince William is doing. And there is a point at which you have to stop and you have to say, is there a point, is there a particular number of deaths at which you say this is too many? Actually, one death is too many. It's very simple. Although a country has a right to self-defense, it should be conducting that self-defense in such a way that it minimizes the number of casualties. And that, I think, is not what happened. And Netanyahu's attempt to go it alone is an attempt to shore up his own power. And his aim, if you go back to the principle of the just war theory, his aim is to achieve the release of the hostages and the eradication of Hamas. He's not achieved either. He's not achieved either. And even the threat to attack Rafah after the beginning of Ramadan is not likely to achieve the eradication of Hamas or the release of the hostages. This process that Netanyahu has embarked on is simply wrong. And probably what was needed to achieve both aims, because you've got to remember, at the point when Hamas attacked Israel, there was almost universal condemnation of Hamas. And Netanyahu has squandered that goodwill completely. Completely. Even Israel's friends, countries like the US, the UK, are calling on Israel to pull back. Some are talking about ceasefire. Well, a ceasefire is simply a technical issue. And what we should be talking about is peace. Exactly what Prince William talks about. A ceasefire may well be a part of that process. It probably has to be a part of that process. But we shouldn't be talking about a pause or a ceasefire or a suspension of hostilities. We should be talking about an end of hostilities. We should be talking about a resolution. What Netanyahu has done is to ensure that this hostility continues for at least another generation. How do we scotch that? How do we scotch the effects of Netanyahu's brutality and savagery? It's really difficult to think through that. So what the Daily Mail calls an extraordinary statement is simply a statement of fact. And Brendan O'Neill's pathetic contribution in The Spectator is simply a statement of ideology and prejudice. And there has to come a point where the ideology is put to one side, the prejudice is abandoned, and people work together to try and seek peace. The Prince of Wales is right.